Welcome to another episode of Hometown Conversations with Sharon and Jenny D. I'm Sharon St. Clair with Hanna Real Estate Services, and this
I'm
is
Jen DeLucia. I'm host of Spill With Me, Jenny D podcast. Thanks for joining us.
We are so happy today. We have Dennis Cestra Jr., who is the president of Hanna Real Estate Services and multiple states, including but not limited to Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
And we're just so happy to have you.
Thank
Welcome.
you for taking the time. I know you're very busy.
Well, Sharon and Jenny, thank you for having me. Congratulations on the success of the show. I've seen some episodes. It's wonderful. So it's a real pleasure to be here.
So we have so much to cover because, let's start with a little bit about Hanna and to put this into context. So Hanna is a family-owned brokerage. It's the largest family-owned brokerage in the United States, 5th largest in the country. Obviously a very dominant footprint in Pennsylvania. With that said, you handle a lot of responsibilities. But when we ask you to come here today, we were also knowing that we just came from the NFL draft. We have so many positive things for our region. So we're really going to focus in our conversation to Pittsburgh, even though that we know that Hanna is national. And we also know that you handle multiple states. So, quick question. When business leaders come to Pittsburgh and they're thinking about doing business here or investing here, you're obviously, housing is an important part of that. You're meeting with them. What kind of feedback are you getting?
Well, it certainly is an important part, housing. And I had the opportunity during the NFL draft, in the lead up to it, to spend a lot of time with folks that had come into town that represented businesses not just nationally but internationally. And they were looking at and studying not just the real estate side of it, but also the economic side of it, of investing in Western Pennsylvania, setting up factories, setting up offices in Western Pennsylvania, moving their headquarters to the Pittsburgh area. And things they're looking for are a talent base. And we have that. There are so many great local universities in Western PA. And when we talk about things like artificial intelligence and robotics, we really have that in the city with CMU, in Pitt, in Duquesne. So that's really number one, because they want to be able to recruit from there. Then number two, they want to have space that they can expand into. You see what has happened at Hazelwood Green with that robotics center, which has been fantastic. And that was a great sort of like marketing job by the area to say, hey, this is what's possible. This is what can be done. This is how we can support you. So, and then I would say, third as well, is quality of life. And that goes into, especially because it's a national topic right now, is housing and cost of living. And still to this day, although our prices go up and it's a great, great place to be a homeowner because it's an investment that keeps appreciating, is to have affordable or attainable housing. And with an average sales price of $300,000, when you look at Western Pennsylvania stacked up against other markets and other regions nationally, it is still very attainable for somebody to be able to buy a house here and really grow their life.
Right. That's so many businesses coming here and wanting to invest in our region. You're an iconic institution as a real estate company, and you started with the Steelers Ambassador Program. Can you tell us how that came about? Because those are really two iconic Pittsburgh families.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. When we talk about brand value and brand recognition, I can just speak for Hanna. There's a lot of trust there. Trust not just with us and the people that we work with, but trust with our buyers and our sellers, our consumers. And when they know that they're working with Hanna, there's an inherent level of trust, and we want to make sure we always live up to that and exceed that. And we're coming up right now, we're in our 69th year. My grandparents started the company in 1957. Wow. So we're coming up on our 70th anniversary in 2027. And as part of that, we've revolutionized our brand. So you might see different signs out there. Really we set it up for the next 70 years. And we wanted to partner with another organization that had that brand equity, had that brand value, had that emotional connection with the people that watch them or use them throughout their life. And the Steelers were a great partner for that. I mean, I can remember my first Steelers game.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't taken my kids to their first game yet. They're too young, but someday I will. But that's something that you always remember. And it's the same thing when you buy your first house, when you buy your last house. That's an emotional connection with the brand that you never forget. So we pick our partners wisely, as the Steelers do as well.
Yes.
And so we wanted to partner with an organization that had that emotional connection, similar to how we have.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yes. Now, what does your company legacy mean to you personally?
Means everything.
Yeah.
It's what people always ask me. Besides working at Howard Hanna and working in real estate, what else did you want to do? And I wanted to be a starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So, Jen, that might be your son. That wasn't going to be me.
Oh, yeah.
Or a professional golfer, and that was never going to be me either.
Yeah.
So it's always something that has been ingrained in me, many other members of my family, and something that I've been truly passionate about and really like doing. And I think in any career that you're going to go into, you have to have that passion side of it. You have to want to do that. So the legacy means that to me, but really it's not just that. It is the 15,000 people, agents, managers, loan officers, support folks that we work with every day. They're building their own legacy. And then our clients, I mean, they're buying their house. They're, whether they're buying their first house or buying a house because they just had kids or, growing a family or whatever it is, they're creating their own legacy, and we have the ability to help them do that. So it is truly an honor that we get to carry this on into future generations.
I love that, yes.
So, Dennis, it was really interesting when you just said that you are not only working inside the Hanna organization, but you're helping buyers and sellers with building their own legacies. So with that said, how do you balance honoring the family and the company's legacy and also against pushing the business into the next era?
That's an easy one because my grandparents who founded the business were always about growth, never being stagnant. Anything that we did, my grandmother would always say when it came to advertising, and the company started and we were growing, the biggest advertising vehicle at the time was the newspaper. And
Yes.
I wasn't alive at that time, but my my mother and my uncle and my aunt who were coming into the business were at the time, and they were looking at doing different things. And my grandmother always said, if you're going to invest in something, okay, and you're going to grow, then make sure you do it from the highest mountaintop. So if you're in the newspaper, have the biggest spread.
Right.
If you're going to be doing digital marketing, have the largest reach, the largest footprint, and that is what we've done, and that is kind of carried on. And then at the same time, we started to expand. For us, they were big moves, in the 70s and early 80s and so forth. We started to expand from Shadyside to Squirrel Hill, and from Squirrel Hill to the North Hills. Might not sound that big nowadays,
Right.
but 50, 60 years ago, those were big moves, but my grandparents instilled that in us. So when we move into markets like, we go south into Georgia or west into Indiana, that's just what we feel like we have to do. We want to be able to bring our level of service. We want to be able to work with those buyers and sellers and those agents that are out there to not only help them grow their business, but help them find people houses and, make better lives of it.
Yes. Oh, yes. Now, what has been the most rewarding part of leading the company?
Definitely working with our buyers and sellers.
Yes.
I mean, every time I get to go into somebody's, usually it happens at their kitchen table and sit down, and sometimes it's been somebody who's owned the house for 40 or 50 years, and whether they built it or put additions onto it or modeled or just made memories, and that's part of the home as well. Not to be able to hear those stories and then be able to help them in that whatever their next chapter is.
Right.
If they're moving from that first house that now they've outgrown into something bigger, or they're moving from that big house into something that better suits their needs,
Right.
it is really rewarding in our career, and Sharon can speak to that too and what she does on a day in, day out basis. But we are in a really rewarding career that, you know, affects people's lives on a daily basis.
That's so true.
What has been the most formative moment in your career so far?
I would say, so I was voted most likely to live in Pittsburgh for the rest of my life, okay? That was my senior superlative. And
We love that.
yeah, so I was not supposed to leave Pittsburgh, right? And I think that the most transformative part of my career has been, I had a good role model and a cousin of mine. We'd bought a company in Cleveland, Ohio, and in 2003, and he moved to Cleveland, Ohio, and he and his wife and their daughter at the time moved to Cleveland, Ohio, and that seemed like a big jump. Now it's only 2 hours away. So I said, if I really want to, better my leadership skills, better my knowledge in running a business, I need to move to a different area. And so I went to graduate school at Georgetown for 2 years. I was already in the Washington, D.C. area. We had bought a company in Southeast Virginia, Virginia Beach, Norfolk area. If anybody's familiar with that,
Yes.
or knows anybody that's in the Navy, you've probably been there.
Yeah.
So I moved there. And I'll tell you, for the first couple of years, it wasn't that easy. But I spent 7 years there. It was unbelievable. We expanded from about $1 billion in sales to over $2 billion. In those 7 years, we went from about 13 offices to 21. We expanded into markets like Charlottesville, Lexington, expanded our presence in Williamsburg, Virginia. So that really helped me get really a on-the-job education and a knowledge base that I think it would have probably taken me double or triple the amount of time if I had just stayed here in Pittsburgh.
Right.
So when you went there and you literally jumped into those different regions.
Yeah.
And I mean, you just went in feet first,
Yeah.
and then baptism by fire, and then grew that. What did it really teach you about growth?
Yeah, it's all personal connections for the most part. So when we expand into a different market where maybe our old expansion model used to be, we wanted to be in concentric circles around a market that we're already in. And now as we've become a bigger company, we can kind of look a little bit further away into a market that makes sense for us. And so that helped me kind of realize that although real estate markets can be different, I mean, it's different from Peters Township to Upper St. Clair. There are differences there.
Right.
But at the same time, you're working with people that are looking to buy or sell their house. They want to maximize their value. They want to find something that is attainable for them, right? And they want to be able to live in there, and they want to be happy where they are.
True.
And those qualities and what people are looking for change very little from one market to the other. Now, there might be more water in one area, if you're on the coast or whatever it is. But I think at the end of the day, the things that people are really looking for are very similar in different markets.
Right. That's so true. So what does your role as president of Pennsylvania actually look like day to day? I say president of Pennsylvania, I'm like, wait a minute, he's the president.
Well, it's all not just fun being on television shows with you two ladies. But what I do on a day-in-day out basis, and it goes back to your question before, is like really look at strategically opportunities for growth. So if they're in markets that we already serve, increasing our market share, bettering our consumer experience. At the end of the day, that's what we're trying to do everywhere we are. But then also, where do we grow? If we already have offices there, how do we help more people? If we don't have offices there, if we don't have agents there, if we don't have buyers and sellers, how do we expand into that market? And what are those things that we need to do to be able to successfully grow in that market? So at a high level, that's what I do. But as a family member in the company, I mean, I'm acting as an assist, it's kind of a top-down model, right? So most presidents of the company, they're at the top. I like to think of myself at the bottom. The consumers here, our agents are there, support people are there, and I'm there to help support them and help them do their job better, whatever they need.
Yes.
So, Dennis, one of the things is I'm listening to your responsibilities in the footprint of Hanna. When I came over, the thing that I found interesting was when I looked at the landscape, I looked at two things: where the puck is going. I also looked at this was the only company that was headquartered here and grew out into multiple states, multiple markets, whereas so many companies, let's say it's headquartered in New York or California with a presence here. So being headquartered here, your footprint has been just enormous. But you've always, the thing that I always heard about and didn't really know about was like the commitment back to the community and charitable giving, like the Chow Chows. Can you tell us a little bit more? Because you sit on the board of Children's Hospital. Tell us more about Chow Chow.
Yeah, I have the pleasure of sitting on the board of the Children's Hospital Foundation here in Pittsburgh. That also came really from my grandmother, who always instilled in all of us, her children, her grandchildren, that if you were, if you had the ability to give back, you have to. It kind of marries very well with our business because, I think people want to work with a company, an agent, whatever, a loan officer, especially in something that's as personal as buying their own home. With some, a brand that is involved, and not just involved, but truly like connected with and serving that community, not just paying it lip service. So we have something called our Howard Hanna Children's Free Care Fund in every single one of our offices, all 500 pretty much, have their own Choo Choo Chow Chow fundraiser. Now I'm not going to get into what that is because we only have so much time.
Right.
But it is where every office in their local community gets to have their own event that supports the local children's hospital in their area.
That's wonderful.
So it can fit their local community.
Yeah,
and we
that's
have
great.
things like, heck, in Carlisle, PA, just a week ago, we raised like $30,000 with a purse bingo.
You're
And
kidding.
they had a couple hundred people that showed up. That's what worked for their area.
Yes.
I think in Upper St. Clair, we're having a golf tournament,
Yes.
But in some offices, because it started as a covered potluck, some offices still have the covered potlucks and they have raffles and they invite the local radio stations, but they raise a ton of money. So in every dollar that is raised in that area, stays in that area. And it is, we've been able to support things at the local children's hospital like the Hanna Healing Gardens, where the Christmas tree is lit every single year. And I get to go there and help light that tree every December. And you see the patients that are there. And some of them aren't close to home. And some of them have been home for a while. Right. And they're looking down. At least they get to have that semblance of Christmas or the holidays. Enjoy as a child. So when we look at giving back, that's truly what it is. At the end of the day, it's not selling about selling more houses. It's about reinforcing and helping promote our local areas.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
So, Dennis, with that said, if any of our viewers have any interest in learning more, contact me. I will get you connected to a local Chow Chow, and we'll get you involved and have you participate.
We're gearing up for our fundraising season right now.
Oh, okay.
So it's a great time to get involved if you're looking at something, if you want to support your local children's hospital. It's a great time to get involved because we're really gearing up for it right now.
Great.
So jumping to another topic, in the luxury market across the region, which really varies from, we start in Peters Township, which is a quintessential luxury market in Pittsburgh, along with Upper St. Clair, Fox Chapel, and just throughout our region. Hanna has a 35.3% footprint of market share.
Yeah.
What do you attribute that to?
So that's over $1 million. And here in Peters Township, just locally, I mean, Venetia, part of the school district, has I think the highest average sales price of all of the areas.
Wow.
And we were talking about new construction off air. There's so much great new construction. The district, the borough, the community have been open to that, which I think is great because we need more housing. But one reason why we are so strong in that market, okay,
Right.
in that luxury or $1 million plus market, is because we help work with people and have programs and products for your first-time home buyer.
Right.
And we have really strong sales folks that are able to work with that person, whoever it is, through their first home, their second house, their third house, all the way through their home buying and home selling experience. So it really is, it's not a natural evolution because you just don't fall into it. It takes having a great consumer experience. It takes having innovative products and programs for people like first-time home buyer lending programs, buy before you sell, so advanced equity programs to help get somebody access to their equity in their first house to carry it over to their second house.
Right.
But helping that whole life cycle of a home buyer, I think really helps us there in the luxury market.
And I know Jenny's going to ask you in a second about an important topic that's hitting all of us. But can you explain the Hanna advantage whenever we go vertical? So we handle the real estate, the mortgage, the title, the insurance.
So 98% of consumers who use our one-stop shopping. So that's what Sharon's talking about. Our real estate, our mortgage, our title, insurance would recommend that to a friend. And I think that it makes it more simple,
Right.
the home buying process, when everything is in-house and it's one team working together. So we use the slogan, one team, one dream.
Yeah, I like that.
And maybe it is a little corny, but at the same time, when somebody experiences that, they truly see not just the value in it, but the power of it, that you have, because there's so much more than just going and looking at houses and putting a house under contract. Most of the time, about 70% of our buyers are getting a mortgage, right?
Right.
And then, they have to close on it. So they need a title company. They got to make sure there's no liens.
Yeah.
And then the one that everybody forgets about, and it's where I got my start in the company, is you got to get insurance for it,
Yeah.
right? So keeping it all in-house has given us really a competitive advantage on other competitors out there. But at the same time, you got to have the service, you have to have the programs, and you have to have the products that help not only get people into their first house,
Right.
but allow people to move up and make it easier for them.
And build wealth along the way.
100%, the American dream,
The
right?
American dream.
Absolutely.
That somebody can take. Over the last 6 years, people have bought or built up so much equity in their house. So at the same time, interest rates have gone up, right?
Right.
Still historically low, but they've gone up. So to be able to take that equity in their first house that they've built up and use that towards the purchase of their second house, where in their first house, maybe they only put 5% down.
Yeah.
And now they can put 20, 30, 40% down. Yes, their interest rate might have gone up, but they might be buying a house that is double the price and their payment isn't all that much different because they have grown their equity. They have invested correctly.
So true. I feel like I'm learning so much. I need to write this all down. So Dennis, how is the company using technology to improve the home search and the transaction process?
So we just rolled out a little bit over a month ago now, something called Find It First. And that is where, through our Hanna List platform, that is where all of our inventory, is added and edited throughout our own platform, internally. So we can create, through our Find It First strategy, we can create waves of marketing and be strategic when launching a listing. For some reason, in our real estate business, I can't think of another business that's out there that sells a product that brings it to market and then starts advertising it and then starts marketing it, right? A new car is coming up. What happens? You start seeing the Super Bowl commercials.
Right.
You start seeing the advertising, and then they go to market, and then you can buy it. But the real estate industry, because of a myriad of different factors, has always been, okay, let's get it on the market so somebody can buy it, and then we'll start marketing and advertising it if it doesn't sell at that point. But are you maximizing that seller's value? So we're able to, through our Hanna List platform, and we were the first real estate company in the country to do this, we are able to create strategic waves of marketing to create urgency and build demand for somebody's house.
Wow.
Which on average is, selling a house for 22% more. So there's a lot of value.
I can tell you, I've used it, it works. I can tell you that firsthand. When you think about the future, what are you most excited about to build?
I've always wanted to build this, and I look at it, and we go back to that one team, one dream philosophy, is really a 360 look at not just the home buying process, but home ownership. So we can stay connected with our buyers and sellers, whether they need, and there's different apps and products out there, but something that keeps them aware of, just like how a stock would be. You can check on your check on your phone where your stocks are, where your portfolio is, but where your value is. And then, you can do that through other automated tools, but also what your net number would be, as well as if you need a plumber, if you need a roofer, it's all right there. And people have done it before, but never really gotten it right. So I think we have the ability, we have the data, we have the trust with our consumers that we can really get that right, to create a client not just for life, but not just when they're buying and selling, when they're truly living in their house. And that's why they're buying a house, right? Is to live there.
Right.
So in real estate, you know, when the reference you just made about the stock market, real estate is an asset class that's 4 times the size of the stock market. So really what you're saying, and it's the only asset that we actually have control over. When we turn our money over to the stock market, it's gone and it's into the hands of other people. You're basically empowering back the consumer and basically saying you're going to do 2 things. You're going to enjoy your home, you're going to have pride of ownership, and you're going to look to increase the value. Is that my understanding of what you're trying to do?
Yeah, and I think that's like when people are looking at buying their house, whether you're looking at it from an investment standpoint or, hey, I like this house, I want this house, it suits my needs. You know, at the end of the day, you know, in Western Pennsylvania, we've been very fortunate. Now, you know, typically, historically, we are about a 2 or 3% appreciation rate every single year, regardless of where the economy is or what's going on in the world. We have appreciation every single year. In the last 6 years, it's been close to double digits, if not more. So, but at the end of the day, we want to, you know, people to know that it is a very safe investment. People can, you know, their value, their investment can appreciate. They can use it to buy that next home or take out that home equity loan and send their kids to school or whatever it is. I mean, that's part of home ownership right there. You know, that's why it's such a big asset class. It is because it is so stable. And in Western Pennsylvania, you know, we really are fortunate to have that kind of community where really it is, you know, you're going to see that appreciation pretty much every year regardless of what's happening.
Dennis, I can't believe how fast the time
Oh my
has
gosh.
gone. We are so
Can we
happy.
do this again? Can I invite myself back on?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
All
You
right.
have an open invitation anytime, because
Okay.
we have so much that we never got through that we could sit here and just ask you about. Thank you for sharing.
Yes,
Thank
Dennis,
you to
thank
all of
you.
our audience members for joining us today.
Thanks
we
for
look
having
forward
me.
to seeing
Thanks
you
for
again.
being a part of Hometown Conversations.
Thank
We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.